I've been unemployed for the better part of this year. It wasn't until recently that I ended up finding a job. And for the majority of that time, I had to deal with a lot of idleness. You know, for someone who tries to stay busy as much as possible with streaming or content creation, I found that I was lacking motivation a lot of the time. And it wasn't so much needing to have motivation. I realized it was actually needing to have discipline. So there were 7 things that I started doing that I had to figure out in order to keep myself on track. And I wanted to talk about those with you today. So the first thing is, and it might seem obvious, I had to get up. And getting up doesn't just mean opening my eyes or sitting up in bed and staying on my phone. It means actually standing up and moving out of the room. The bedroom has become sort of this trap for a lot of us, I feel like, because it's so easy to just stay in it. Like you don't have to be bored in bed. And as a result, I felt my depression was at the highest when I stayed in that space. So I made it a very clear point of leaving my room, and usually without my phone, because having that habit of scrolling first thing in the morning was not healthy for me. And I had to give myself some level of recognition for doing that, because it's the first, arguably the biggest step of the day. The second thing I had to do was walk to the kitchen and have a glass of water. And the reason for that, it didn't matter if I woke up early in the morning or late in the afternoon. Having water helped prime my brain for having somewhat of a useful day. And it's good for you. I mean, it's a good habit to have anyway. I was more likely to have another glass of water later in the day if I had one that morning when I woke up than if I didn't. And there are plenty of times where I barely would drink water in a day, so that was an important step to follow. The third thing I would do was go and suit up, all right? And this doesn't have to be like anything fancy. It might be your athletic clothes, it may be your street clothes for the day, it could be something raggedy, but the important part is to get out of your pajamas, because the type of clothing you wear puts you in a certain state of mind. And when I stay in my PJs all day, like, it's nice on a lazy Sunday to do that sort of thing. But you know, the key word there is lazy. I just want to lounge around the entire time. And when I put in that minimal effort of changing the clothes I wore, it gave me a higher chance of actually doing something else. The fourth thing I would do is brush my teeth. Brushing my teeth is an important self-care step. I don't think of it as necessarily the first task of the day, but it's the first reminder that I need to maintain myself in the same way that, you know, you need to maintain your car or your tools that you use. The fifth thing I do is go and make my bed. So that I count as the actual first task of the day. It's easy to neglect making your bed because you're just going to go back to it later. But when you build this routine, this consistency, then it doesn't require motivation to do things. You simply do them whether you feel like it or not. Going through all of the effort to put the sheets and blankets back in place prime you for the next task that you're going to do, the actual to-do list that you have. Once I make my bed, then I sit down and I meditate. I like to meditate for 20 minutes, sometimes guided, sometimes not, because it's a good challenge for me. 20 minutes takes a lot of patience, and most people don't want to do it because you are being idle. Going back to the contrast I mentioned earlier with being in the bed on your phone, we don't get as many opportunities nowadays to do that. And so meditation is this active choice to have to contend with your thoughts and regulate them in a way. And if you do this long enough, you'll get so good at it that you'll find in real life, you're coming back to the things you've learned in your meditation. You start to do it in the real world and you become less impulsive in a moment. You might feel a certain way about an action, but you'll wait before you react to it. And I found that to be very useful in my life. So that was number 6, sitting down. Number 7, the last step, is standing up. And what I mean by standing up is going and getting a workout. That might start off with a stretch. You might just go directly outside. If you're unable to work out, then just getting some sunlight, or if it's not sunny, getting some natural light outside is really good for you. And it could be for as short as 5 minutes, or it could be as long as 45 if you're going on a run like I enjoy doing. And so getting that physical activity, of course, is good for longevity, but it's also good for clearing some of those negative thoughts you might have, like the ones that I experience here and there. And it's a great supplement to the meditation. And I have to give a huge shout out to my girlfriend, because she has been doing an incredible amount of work in her life to make changes, to make positive changes. And the key thing to take away is that they all require effort. These 7 things, I hope they sound simple, but they require effort. And as long as you can show up and do them, even if you do them poorly, like you don't make the nicest bed, you don't meditate for more than 3 minutes, and you don't brush the bottom row of your teeth. I mean, ideally you should, but as long as you at least try. I like to remember the 80-20 rule. Most of my success, 80% of my success, comes from 20% of my effort. And so when I do those things, it helps me get through the day. And some days are going to seem like nothing burgers. But, I'm grateful right now. I have a temporary position, temporary work. It helps me pay the bills. And then I think about the next step thereafter, and if there's another extended period of time where I'm not working, I can fall back to these 7 basic things, because they'll help me do the next thing. And then hopefully, when I go back to my to-do list of content creation that I mentioned at the beginning, I'll actually do them. And if it means I only accomplish 3 things in a week when I set out to do 5, well, 3 is better than 0. So I hope that was helpful, and I'll see you soon in the next one. Take care.